Hello, this is the Weekly Review, a program of Sawa Network making sense of relevant topics and news. My name is Roger Alfred Yoron Modi. I'm the producer and host. Today we are going to look into the defection of the leader, the then leader of the South Sudan National Movement for Change, the Minister of Labor, the Minister of Public Service, Joseph Bangasi Bakosoro, and the impact of that defection into the party, the South Sudan National Movement for Change, which is part of the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, SOA. And we are joined today by the Secretary General of the South Sudan National Movement for Change, Moro Isaac Jenasio. Welcome to the Weekly Review, Moro.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers, and thank you, Sawa Network.
Yes, what does the defection of your former leader means now to the South Sudan National Movement for Change, which is also part of SOA, the South Sudan Opposition Movement Alliance, or the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, SOA?
Yeah, thank you for the question. First of all, it is unfortunate that the former chairperson, Honorable Bangasi Bakosoro, decided to abandon the party and moved to the SPLM party. Well, our party is a party that was founded on principles of democracy, and he has the freedom of choice to either continue in the party or decide otherwise. So yes, his defection impacted the party because most of the members did not expect that he was going to do so. But we also thought it is an exercise of democracy, and it is a very healthy exercise if a member decides to cross to another party without causing major problems to the implementation of the peace process.
How about the issue of the allocation of positions? For example, he is now occupying the position of a minister in the national government, the government of national unity, and that position was allocated to your party, and now he's not a member of the party. And we've seen in one of his recent interviews, he said he's not going to relinquish that position. He said he's not going to leave that position because he was given that position. So what is the stance of the party as far as the issue of allocation of power is concerned?
The stand of the party is that, first of all, this government came as a result of a peace agreement. And the stipulations in the responsibility sharing are very clear. SOA has 10%, of which 10% we had 3 ministries and a deputy ministry. So the fact that he has crossed to the SPLM will not amend the provisions of the responsibility sharing in the R-ARCSS 2018. He has crossed as an individual, and of course the SPLM party, or the ITCON, in which SPLM is a party to, has its percentage that he will be very proud to share in and be able to relinquish the position that accrued to SOA by the virtue of the agreement.
So what is your party going to do? Because he's still the minister, and like you said, he's in a different party. He could get his position through that party as far as the implementation of the agreement is concerned. But what steps is your party and your alliance, the SOA, is going to take immediately regarding the position he's holding?
First of all, the NMC is a constituent member of SOA. And of course, at that level, SOA as the trustee for these positions will be the one to follow up with the partners, especially the IT group, because one, yes, we are concerned that this position was given to NMC, and of course we have raised our concern as well to the leaders of SOA that we as NMC will need to regain this position and select one of our members, or recommend one of our members to this position, because the positions that were given to SOA were also divided to the member organizations. So as NMC, we still reserve the right to nominate a member from the leadership of NMC to replace the former chair who has already deserted the party.
And looking at it more broadly, we like you said, his democratic right to leave the party and join another party, and democracy in general. What can we, the people of South Sudan, learn from NMC, your party, in terms of what has happened and the need to have democratic space, to have members leaving when they want and coming in when they want?
Well, one example we want to set as the NMC is that the freedoms associated with the democracy should be respected. And in doing so, we want to see a meaningful multi-party system. And the choice of a member, in essence, if it is based on individual perception or principles that are not contrary to general peace and security, we do not have a problem with it. We want to see that the country transitions into this type of freedoms or democracy in which people have right to express what they want. And in doing so, we as members of NMC are not willing to fight, but we can only claim our right through the right means. And that is launching our complaint to SOA, and the SOA will pursue with the partners in order for us to regain what is ours. So we feel it is a very healthy process, and we have wished Honorable Bakosoro well in our press release, associating ourselves as the remaining members from his statement that he had moved with the party to the SPLM, which was not correct. And we thought instead, he should have taken it as a personal opinion, in which we respect, of course, and we have decided that the best way to do is to go with the provisions of the agreement and do the right thing. That is the implementation of the agreement in letter and in spirit. So what we would want the public to know is that any member can cross. Maybe a member of the SPLM will decide that, okay, we want to be, we want to join NMC. And of course, we will welcome, and it shouldn't in any way create a bad blood in our relations.
And also, further into that, you know, the agreement, the revitalized peace agreement, allows, not only allows, but it provides for amendment of the Political Parties Act, and then later there is giving chance for parties to register afresh as political parties. What is the future of the NMC? Is NMC going to register as a party as per the requirements of the Political Parties Act, or is it going to amalgamate with other parties?
First of all, for now, the Political Parties Act has not been passed.
Mm-hmm.
The amendment have not been, though incorporated, but the assembly has not yet sat, as you know, and we are expecting that it will be done as soon as possible. SOA, I mean, NMC is a member of SOA, and of course, I can tell you that for now, NMC is well placed to register as a party if the time comes. But for now, we do not want to blow that drum. We are working very hard to make sure that we're able to register as a party, taking into account the position of SOA come that time after the transition.
Generally, what would you say is the vision? What does NMC seeks to achieve as a party? What is your program? What is your agenda?
NMC seeks to achieve a democratic and a peaceful nation, a nation that is defined by democratic and defined and governed by democratic values and principles, a nation that respects rule of law, a nation that is sensitive to the general need and the direction in which the people would want to see a nation to move towards. So NMC has very clear objectives, and of course, one of our objectives initially was to make sure the hostilities were stopped, of which we were able to play our role to bring the parties to an agreement. And we have very much believed that the agreement is the only way that can pave for us, and open a ground for democratic processes.
And in terms of your capability, in terms of your reach, how big is the NMC? Like the position shared, for example, what are your members at the moment occupying? Because I remember, and I don't know whether there are others, but I remember you had a candidate for the position of governor in Jonglei State. You wanted it was last year, I think. You wanted your member to be the governor of Jonglei State, and because the issue of parties sometimes, issue to do with regionalism or states, parties sometimes don't have that reach in certain parts of the country. So what positions are your prominent members currently holding that you can tell the public, and your reach also?
We have prominent positions. One of it is, of course, the Ministry of Public Service and Human Resource Development at the national. We have 6 members of National Assembly, of which 3 have crossed with the former chair, and the 3 of them have remained, including our legal advisor, the deputy chair, who is now the acting chairperson, and then 1 senior member who is currently in Juba. We also have the position of local government and law enforcement in central Equatoria state, of which I happen to be the minister. We have also the position of a ministry in Western Equatoria occupied by Honorable Eddie Ukele. We have positions in other parts of the country, especially in Eastern Equatoria. We have the advisor for peace and security. We have in Jonglei a commission. We have in Warab a commission. We have in Western Baragazal a member of assembly and commission. We have in Eastern Equatoria, we have county commissioner. In Western Equatoria, we have county commissioner. In Northern Baragazal, we have a chairperson of a commission. In Warab, Lake State, we have a chair of a specialized committee in the assembly, and we have several members of assembly who have occupied positions that were given as a part of the responsibility sharing to NMC. And most of these people occupying these positions have chosen not to go with the former chair, because they believe that the best thing to do is to implement the peace in letter and spirit. And then whatever comes later on, a decision will have to be made. But we are looking forward to a huge mobilization, preparing ourselves in an event of when SOA decides otherwise, then NMC will have to register as a party of its own to confront the challenges of democracy, be able to to influence on the best course of action a country can be able to take.
Regarding the 3 members nominated and appointed into the Transitional National Legislative Assembly that have crossed over with your former leader, Bakosoro, into the SPLM, what are you going to do? Because they have not been sworn in up to now. They are not sworn in, so technically they are not members yet. And are you going to reclaim those positions, or are you just going to leave them like that?
If we leave the positions, it will amount to us also being an accomplice in trying to edit the provisions of the R-ARCSS by only making a press release, which is a mistake we're not going to do. We do not have personal issues with them, but we feel that those are provisions of the agreement that have to be respected. If we don't do so, then it may amount to violations, which we do not want to be part of this history. So basically, by default, they will have to relinquish these positions, and then NMC will be in position to reclaim and recommend members to be appointed into these positions.
Politically speaking, what would you say as like the real reasons that has made Bakosoro to leave the party? What would you your assessment like? Why has he left the party?
You know, first of all, it is a personal perspective, which I may not be well suited to imagine, right?
Because people are saying that there are things that attracted him, like he was going to be appointed vice president or speaker of parliament. Those things are going on. People are talking about it.
Those ones I've not heard about them, except in his press release, he said he was rejoining the mother party from which he has been developed. So at this level in politics, we do think that it is based on principle and based on the vision and mission that one thing he can well be suited to associate with. At the level of NMC, we do not see, yes, there are positions that are approved as part of the responsibility sharing in the R-ARCSS, but we do not see the positioning as the major thing, but we see at the general perspective, because not everyone in South Sudan get those positions. So basically at his level, I do not think really his decision will be associated with anything to do with the appointments and so on, because I believe that he was already in the executive position. And if any speculation, maybe you also as media personnel, you may also let us know so that we can be able to bet with.
And on the impact, like on the ground, because your party NMC, I believe, have forces, people on the ground, and what do you say is the impact of his defection? Because there have been events of insecurity in Western Equatoria, and I read some writings which I'm not sure about, but people have been blaming his. Some people have been blaming his defection for some of the insecurity in Western Equatoria. What do you say is his impact, his defection's impact?
Well, there are majorly 2 questions you have asked here. The impact of his defection on security in Western Equatoria, and then the forces that are with the NMC. You know, the agreement provides it very clear. There is the chapter 2, which is the security implementation of security protocols or security strategic placement as a country. I was involved in the process, and I was the head of Secretariat of the Joint Military Ceasefire Commission initially before my appointment. The forces generally were placed under the command of the Joint Defense Board. the Joint Defense Force supported by the Joint Military Ceasefire Commission, and then supported with the JTSC. The JMCC was in charge of the cantonment processes and screening, and the JTSC was in charge of training. So these forces were basically handed to these mechanisms, and most of the forces were taken. They were registered, screened, and are already in a training center. Some of them are in assembly areas, and I want to assure you that initially we had only forces who had to move to these assembly areas. So most of the NMC forces were screened and are already in training centers. Some of them are in the police, some of them are in the national security, some of them are in the other units of the forces. So what we are remaining to see is that once the command is already structured, the senior officers will also be brought and then take some trainings and be able to be deployed. So we tried as much as possible to distance politics from the military, but of course, until now, still, if there is any need for us to come in as leaders to talk on behalf of some of the senior officers who have remained, then that will come during that time when we see the necessity to. But we believe that most of these forces are already in the training center. Even the other batch was also carried yesterday for national security officers.
And the other part of the question regarding insecurity in Western Equatoria.
Is an opinion, is a public opinion. Unless there is any fact to that effect, but the situation in Western Equatoria was a build-up. As you have been following, it was a build-up for some time, which even made him to also go there to talk to the people initially. So depending on how much effort they put on the ground and exactly the cost to that effect, I will not be in position much to talk on that. But what I know is that it has been a situation that was building up before his defection.
Talking about distancing the military from politics, it was the military that gave ground to those parties, most of them who were holding arms, to reach this settlement, this agreement right now, which is the Revitalized Peace Agreement. And there are grievances that are political in nature that needed to be settled, talking about reforms and enactment of even the permanent constitution and even other legislation that aim at democratizing the country. Now, what do you see as like, because you talk about distancing the military from politics, are you seeing a scenario whereby, okay, you can distance the military from politics and then you end up losing everything as far as the implementation of the reforms and the agenda that your party originally sought to achieve, or you see hope, that they will be implemented?
We do not want to see a situation where the implementation is based on duress. Mm-hmm. We want to see a process of implementation that is based on free will of the parties for the interest of South Sudanese. So because the South Sudanese have suffered for very long, and we do not want to see that this country slots back to war. And that's why we have been doing major dissemination events, and we had dissemination forums in which we also go to the forces and tell them that they are about to become a national force that is meant to defend the country, but not to defend individuals, not to defend any party. So by doing that, I think is the best way, and that is actually the background for which we thought we should have an agreement and have different chapters to tackle different issues relating to the parties, the grievances of the parties.
But there is one thing that people keep mentioning: the political will, the issue which is very dominant at the moment, lack of political will. because the parties have to have political will to implement the agreement and to enact those reforms and even the permanent constitution that reflects what the people want. So what do you say about this issue of political will that really is needed at the moment?
I think that has become like a general term, but my understanding is that there has no party that has come clearly out to say there is no political will. If there is a political will, you know, those who want equity should come with the clean hands. So if I have to talk about political will, then I must be able also to convince the people of South Sudan. I must be able to convince the world that I, on my part, I have done whatever it takes to push forward the process. But if I bluntly make a statement now that there is no political will from this party or this party, I will be making a mistake, because all of us are in this process and we understand the challenge around the implementation. And this has been discussed in several forums. Even most of us also sit, we discuss about it. And the fact that we have been able to push the process up to this level will be an evidence, or it is evident that there is the will to do so, but of course there are challenges that we must find ways to handle, not generally by coming out public and mention, you know, derogatory statements or statements of accusation or hate speech, but we have to find a way as South Sudanese, with the help of the international community, to push forward the process so that we see lasting peace in South Sudan.
There's a perception that these parties, your party included, the parties to the agreement, are having a collusion or a kind of consensus just to be taking the people of South Sudan for a ride, like they're implementing the agreement, they're not implementing the agreement, and they're just delaying, you know, tactically and blaming each other, but then they just generally agree to remain in power using the agreement and other delaying tactics. What would you say about that?
Taking South Sudanese for a ride. If you're going on a ride, then all of you are in the same ride, and all of you will have to be ready to face the consequences by default. I do not think any South Sudanese thinks so otherwise, because to be very sincere, not all the people who are occupying positions were in position by them. And not all the people who were in positions of authority are now in positions of authority. So the fact is that, yes, parties may associate as a parties. As I said earlier on, we are trying to build a multi-party democracy that people will be free to choose and be free to associate with whichever political party they will associate with. So the best way to go is to try as much as possible to have the best relationships based on principle than to have lines, clear lines that I don't want this, I don't want this. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to build a nation that will be favorable for each and every one of us. It is not about these political parties, it is not about these positions. So if that perception is there, then I will treat it as a personal opinion. That of course one has a right to say so, but to my perspective, I am yet to see that.
Talking about, you know, distancing politics from military and vice versa, you are occupying both positions in politics and military. When are you going to leave one? Or what do you say about this issue of separating politics from military and military from politics?
I am currently a Minister of Local Government and Law Enforcement. I'm not occupying another position. The other position I have is from the party, which is the Secretary General. And I thought that is leading by example. Yes, I hope you.
Yeah, I got you, but I see your title, people say you're general. So what do you say about that?
Yeah. Of course, initially people called me general. But until now, still, of course, the blood remains, but I have another title that I'm occupying, which is a title of honorable. But of course, you cannot tell me that by being a honorable now forever, people cannot remind you about the past title. So right now, I have one assignment as the Minister of Local Government and Law Enforcement. But then I cannot tell you no, I'm not a general, because that was the initial title I have. And I'm a Minister of Local Government and Law Enforcement.
Yeah, if you are relieved, you may go back to the military, right?
If I am relieved, of course, I'm not here forever, not even in the army forever. One time we were civilians and we were ordinary South Sudanese. So the example we want to set is that once someone relinquishes a position, unless there is need for you to cross into the other, we will not see it appropriate.
And what would you say as the things that determine the need, maybe to cross? What make up the need to do that?
It depends. If there is an expertise or there is an energy needed by the people, and it will be the demand of the people, it will not be an individual choice that I need this, I want this. Because if we say I want this, then what we want in terms of position will not be enough for every South Sudanese. So we want to create an environment where we look at much more other expertise, to be able to be self-sustainable, than to look at only positions in the government or in other organs that are the only way one can survive. So I want to tell you that I'm a young man, I'm an aspiring leader, and I think together we can be able to build the best direction for our country.
Finally, your message to Bakosoro, your former leader. What can you tell him? What would you tell him at the moment?
First of all, I would want to thank him for the time we had together. We had a very good time, and we were able to learn a lot from him, as well as him also learning from us. And I wish he thinks the same. And I want to wish him well in his new party, which is the SPLM party. It is a democratic decision, and we do not have any hard feeling. We want to see that we work together to achieve the South Sudan we all yearn for.
About the positions that he's holding, what are you going to tell him as a leader in NMC?
That he understands as much as I do that it will be inappropriate for him to say, okay, I will cross with these positions. We would want to take the statement that he issued as an oversight. And of course, in the course of time, he will be able to know that the right thing is to be able to resign and allow these positions to come back to NMC under South Sudan Opposition Alliance.
So in short, you ask him to resign from the position that is originally supposed to be for your party?
I am not asking him, but I'm reminding him that that is the best thing to do, because he knows as well as I do, as well as every South Sudanese or the world do, that others that we should be able to do the right thing.
Well, I don't see a difference between reminding him or asking him, but anyway, you're telling him to vacate the position you are supposed to have as a party.
Depending on your choice of what, but the one I've chosen is a reminder.
And
that
then
these positions came as a result of responsibility sharing in the agreement. And the best is that if one chooses to quit that particular party, the party retains the position, and then the person will be able to get another position from where he has decided to join.
And like you said earlier, you as a party part of the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, SOA, you will also follow up with SOA regarding what has been allocated to you, which Bakosoro is still holding.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you, Rogers, and thank you to all the listeners of Sawa program.
Shukran. Bye.